And so please describe to me what the aesthetic look is exactly.
Well, like this guy here.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring
Oh wow, you really have to come in here?
like this guy here.
Is this
No,
is this really happening? He met the other guy behind you, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm right into that bad boy.
You can stay right there, behind the camera, behind the camera. No, see now that you got me jealous now.
That's okay.
That's not
no,
fair.
but you're more in the category like Luther Rickman, Arnold, okay?
My man. Yeah. Arnold Ferrigno. Huh?
Okay.
Aesthetic. That's great, partner. You two ever go out place everything in its proper place?
That does not make sense, but we usually do go. We head to Kroger's, and we work.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lady waiting for me back home also. She has the most beautiful scrotum. Oh, God. And when she sings, she sounds just like a puppy dog. How do you nail a photo?
Just gotta get in the mode. You gotta talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes. You
Okay,
gotta
so
have the eyes.
can you show me a little bit of something, like to this camera? I would love to know how to do this. I just want to know.
Well,
How
I
do you do it?
mean,
Teach
the
me
smile,
something.
You can get the sexy eyes. Then you know you gotta get the smile going on some shoes. But you know,
Wait, hold up.
You got-
I got to
when it's
try
time-
this
when
with
it-
you.
when it's
Hold
time
on.
to laugh,
I got to try
you
this
gotta
with
think of
you.
something funny
All
and start
do,
laughing.
do it again. Do it again. How do you do it? Teach me.
sexy eyes.
The sexy eye.
Just a sexy eye right here.
Smizing?
Smile.
So you're smizing.
Smile.
Okay.
And then you gotta get the.
No,
the
I look like
happy-
I need to take a poop or something.
Each words were like little toy guns. No sting, no hurt, no one, just a bang, bang. Right?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Just a bang,
Toy
bang,
guns.
rolling off your tongue.
Toy guns.
It's no smoke, no
Bang, bang.
bullets.
Water guns. All right.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. What's up, everybody? Good evening, everybody. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Thursday night. Yes, we are almost at Friday. It's almost the weekend, y'all. Just hold on. Hold on for one more day. Right? Isn't that the song? Just hold on. That's a throwback. I don't know why I did that. I think that's like every drunk white girl's song that they choose for the karaoke. Yes, I said it. I just went there. Yes, I did. Don't get mad at me. It's a joke. But moving on. Hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful one, enjoying your evening. It sucks because we're kind of starting off with a really, really bad story. Yeah, we got another shooting, y'all. Another damn shooting. We just talked about one this morning, and now we got another one. Yes, I said it, another one. And not like fun and exciting like DJ Khaled. This is not another one. Like, this is not like the hits just keep on coming, nothing but the hits. This is another sad story, another terrible situation that happened again. We're going to jump into that conversation, into that story here very, very shortly. But before we jump into it, I got the fellas in the house. I got Bryan, and we got T in the house. What's a guan, everybody?
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? Lady Justice is here, so happy to actually see you in the flesh.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the welcome back. You know what I mean? Lady Justice in the house, y'all. T is back in the house. Like, it's a twofer today. What the hell is going on today, man? And what sucks is that we're about to talk about something that's very, very sad. But I'm very, very happy and excited that I got Mr. T12 and Lady Justice in the same room at the same damn time. It's not fair. And we're talking about this ish, bruh. Okay, I'm done. I'm done now. The excitement is. It was washing over me. I had to ride it out. You know what I mean? It's nice to have you guys on the show. And if David was on, this would have been like the perfect storm. You see what I'm saying? The perfect storm. But another time, another day. You know what I'm saying? Good evening to everybody who's watching right now. Like I said, we're going to be jumping into this story here very, very shortly. And if you don't know, if you didn't see this morning, we had Lady Justice, or Bryan, a.k.a. Lady Justice, co-hosting this morning. And we had such a great time with her, or I had such a great time with her. I said, hey, why don't you come back on? Just come back on again. And she said, sure. Now she's here again, which is great. You know what I'm saying? You excited? Am I the only one who's excited right now that she's on?
No, I'm excited. Damn. I'm here.
Nobody said anything. I'm like, all like, yeah, you know what I mean? And everyone's just standing like, nothing.
Inside is butterflies in the stomach. That's
there
all.
you go. There you go. On the inside, you're feeling good. On the inside, y'all feeling good. So, okay. So, just so you guys know, she'll be sprinkling throughout the show, you know what I'm saying? Some evenings, some mornings. It just depends on what she has available and all that. And I really am excited and very lucky to have a new member of the cast on the show. Now that we have Lady Justice, though, now I need to talk to somebody about making all of us into superheroes. Just a thought. Seriously, you already got Lady Justice. I mean, that should be a freaking comic book thing. You know what I mean? Like a graphic where we all look like just roided out superheroes. You know what I'm saying? Look like chiseled out of freaking oak or stone. You know what I'm saying? No?
It's a good idea. No, I'm excited about it right now.
Just saying. Sure. Just an idea.
Just don't make me petite. Like, make me more like Vixen. Like larger and muscular.
Right on.
I don't like skinny women.
Right. Just bat boom pow. Basically, you just basically say bat boom pow. Okay. Nuclear bombs up in this piece. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna work that out. You know what I mean? That's in time. But a random idea, which would be kind of cool. Actually, it's funny because I've been thinking about. I've been watching this new show on Amazon Prime called Invincible. Bruh, if you haven't seen it, it's a cartoon, and it's, if you're not a comic book fan, whatever. So I feel so bad for you, but if you are a comic book fan, you will really enjoy this show. It is amazing. It's amazing. Check it out if you get a chance. It's called Invincible. It's on Amazon Prime. And if you like the show The Boys on Amazon Prime, you're going to like this show. Go check it out. It's definitely a lot of fun. Anyway, back to the stuff that we need to talk about, which is some serious stuff. So I'm sorry to shift gears, but welcome to the show. Especially with what's going on with life lately. It's been a lot of really tragic stories just going back to back. But we got to talk about this one thing that's going on in Bryan, Texas right now. As we speak, there have been multiple victims. One has been pronounced dead so far in this another mass shooting in Bryan, Texas. We got a little video clip that I want to show you guys. And hopefully we can get down to some answers here. Let's take a look at this. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Before I do that, let me make sure that that you guys can hear this too. Sorry about that, guys. Ba-boom. All right.
At least one person is dead after a mass shooting, this time at a custom cabinet business in Bryan, Texas. That is about 100 miles north of Houston. According to police, at least 6 other people were taken to the hospital, and right now we understand that 4 of them are said to be in critical condition. One witness describing what she heard and what she was told from other coworkers.
I was painting with my coworker, and I heard like boom, 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 boom. I said, oh, the machine got messed up again. So I tried to walk to figure out which one, and when I start walking, somebody grabbed me. He's like, no, we need to run because there's a shooting going on. He didn't start shooting like each one. He just started like picking who was going to shoot. That's what they told me.
Possibly picking who he was going to shoot. A suspect is now in custody, and police say a trooper was shot while pursuing the suspect. This afternoon's attack coming roughly 3 hours after President Biden took executive action to prevent mass shootings, and it came one day after 5 people were killed in another mass shooting in South Carolina. Ed Lavendera is out front, live on the phone on the scene. And Ed, what are you learning right now about this shooting in Texas?
Hello, Aaron. Well, we're en route to this shooting scene in Bryan College Station. This is not too far from the campus of Texas A&M University. So this is an area, as you mentioned, of 100 miles north of the Houston area. And right now, officers are at that shooting scene, processing the scene, and much of the afternoon has been taken up by a manhunt for the suspect, who we understand is now in custody. But that shooter was able to leave the cabinet-making shop there in Bryan and was pursued into a neighboring county, and that's where the Department of Public Safety says that a state trooper was shot in the process of pursuing the suspect in a neighboring county. And that's according to one of the local sheriffs there. The DPS trooper, we are told, is in serious but stable condition. One person at the cabinet making business has died. 6 others are hospitalized. Several of those are in critical condition. So all of this is continuing to unfold here this evening in East Central Texas.
So, Ed, just one follow. It's incredible, as you're saying, that the suspect was pursued into a neighboring county. I know there's a lot that we don't know right now, and people obviously are fighting for their lives. As you've said, several of the 6 shot in critical condition, we understand now. Do you know anything more about the police saying anything about the type of gun or any kind of motive or any relationship that the suspect may have had to the cabinet-making facility?
Well, the police chief there in Bryan tells CNN that they believe that the suspect was an employee of the business, but any motive beyond that is something that investigators say they're still trying to piece together through the interviews that they're doing right now and witnesses at the scene. So it sounds like that information still hasn't quite developed fully. So we'll continue to monitor that as we're en route to the shooting scene.
You know, what's crazy is that clearly this is somebody that worked at this facility, right? Given the fact that he walked in, or this suspect, we don't know if this is male or female, but the suspect walked in and was picking people off, picking and choosing who he wanted to shoot or who they wanted to shoot. So clearly this person worked there. And what their motive was behind all this, I don't know. We don't know yet. But what's crazy is that we went from a shooting that we just talked about, and I just did a pop-up video with more information about said shooter, Philip Adams, who is an ex-NFL player. His father is basically saying that it was because of football that his son went off and started shooting all these people. But now, I mean, not even 24 hours. Well, I mean, is it 24 hours? Yeah, I mean, it's about 24 hours. Actually, less than 24 hours. Another shooting. Another shooting. Again, in Texas. There is a much deeper conversation that we need to have, that we need to conduct here. And it all has to do with gun control, the Second Amendment's rights, and all that. There is a video I want to show you guys here in a second, but you know, with Biden and him talking about Second Amendment and saying that, you know, that it's I think he called it phony or something like that. We're going to look at it here in a second, but this is something that we need to talk about. Could this have been prevented? T, what are your thoughts?
There's no magic law that's going to fix violence in general. Now, politicians, especially on the left, have always targeted gun control, especially in urban neighborhoods where gun violence is more perplexing. But this is happening in different states, different areas, not just the hood, quote unquote, Chicago. This is happening nationwide, and this is the bigger issue is not guns. The bigger issue is people reacting to situations where they have no more hope, and they're going to invoke violence any kind of way they can. So we've seen this. We see violence all over the world. I mean, you see that the UK pretty much banned guns, and now knife violence is like the gun violence here. So humans historically have always been violent, whether it was rocks and stones back in the day, to now we have more technology and we're using bombs and guns. People will find ways to invoke violence because they don't have the emotional control to get through a situation. When they're at a crisis, they just react. And this seems like this was planned. He probably was fired, or somebody at his job made him feel ostracized, and he went back and he targeted people, and to kill them, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But this would have happened with a knife, or or anything else that he could have got his hands on. Gun regulation, I think, is a hot topic because it's a way of control. And many people who support the Second Amendment, including myself, feel like the government wants absolute control and power. And if you give up the right to defend yourself and you rely on the police to defend you, then the odds are against you. The police always respond after crime scenes. They won't be there during the crime. So unfortunately, if we say, hey, give all the guns back, let's let any politician change all the gun laws and make it harder for the upstanding citizens to obtain gun rights, then we're screwed. The majority of us are law-abiding citizens. The majority of us are following the laws. So if I'm a good citizen and I apply for a gun permit, or I want to buy a gun to be the protector of my household and myself, I should have that right always, because I can't depend on another man to be a man for me. That's not how it works. So if something happens in my home, I'm the first responder for my family and myself. So going forward, if I'm somewhere and I'm legally armed, hopefully I can take out the bad guy. But we've never seen any bad guy historically ever follow a law. That's why they're bad guys. So whether we ban our guns or not, they want to find a way to obtain a gun and do bad things, no matter what. And if me being a good guy and I'm being punished for being a good guy but losing my gun rights, then I'm screwed twice.
Bryan, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts haven't really changed much since this morning. I agree with everything that T just said. I think when we think about gun rights, I think about things like having to carry insurance, insuring guns. I think maybe restricting the sale of parts where people can put together guns. They can just purchase different parts and then put together guns. I think that should be limited. But, we're presently in a country where there are so many black market guns out there that I think, asking law-abiding citizens to turn in those guns, whether it's a buyback program, is still not going to change the fact that there are guns out on the street. And it's like T said, because criminals will be criminals. Criminals don't abide by the law. So the only people who would be harmed are law-abiding citizens. But I do think that we could do things like insurance, so that if a gun is stolen or if a gun is taken, then a person can be insured, whether it's paying a family for the loss of life or covering someone's medical bills. I think that maybe that would behoove people to ensure that their guns are locked up and safe. I think that we could have better regulation on ammunition, better background checks. I think that anyone who owns a gun should have to go through a mental health screening, which means I think that we need to start thinking about healthcare in a different way, so that every citizen has access to all kinds of services, including, emotional and mental wellness services. So I think that this is a multifaceted issue when it comes to gun violence. And I don't think taking guns away, and I don't just think saying, oh, well, it was football for the individual earlier, or, well, it's just mental health. I think a lot go into it. Poverty goes into it. Education goes into it. Values, morality, how you were raised, what your family instills. Is it a village helping to raise the family? How was your schooling? There's just so many factors that account for why people do bad things. We know, hurt people. So we have to start thinking about this at multiple levels, instead of just saying, okay, well, gun control is going to suddenly cure all, because it won't, because there are other issues. And like T pointed out, UK takes away guns, but then knife violence increases. So, hurt people will continue to hurt people regardless, whether it's with a baseball bat, whether it's with a knife, whether it's with their fist, they're going to cause harm because criminals don't abide by the law.
That's true. I mean, as much as we talk about gun control, as much as we have been focusing on it and sitting here saying, what can we do? What can we do to stop this thing? What can we do to slow it down at least? At least that. Because, I mean, violence is always going to happen. It doesn't matter. I mean, somebody is going to be mentally unstable enough to do something heinous anytime of day. 9/11 happened, and, they did that with nail files, for crying out loud. So if somebody really wants to do something really bad, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Doesn't matter if they have a gun or not. They're going to try to find it in any way possible, by any means necessary, to make their voice heard or make their point heard, right? So it's not only just gun control, which is what I agree with both of you guys. I mean, obviously there's much more to it than just that. That we do need to start looking at our mental wellness. We need to start taking mental health much more seriously. We need, I feel, an opportunity for people who are selling these guns and all that to check the people that are actually buying those guns. Now, I say, and this might sound a little crazy. Just roll with me on this, but I do think that I feel like the heavier the artillery is, the harder it is for you to obtain said gun. I know that sounds a little nutty, but if you're sitting there going, all right, somebody's trying to get an AR-15, for example, I feel like there should be another level of another threshold of stuff that you have to get through, maybe a psych eval, etc., before you can obtain or have the rights to obtain said artillery, now, but then again, I'm not sitting here saying that, so a pistol can't do the same amount of damage. Yes, it can. But for somebody who's running around with an AR-15, to me, it's just much heavier artillery, and it seems to be the gun of choice with some of these mass shootings. Not all of them, just some of them, right?
Well, can I say something?
Sure, please.
Think about this. So if a person wants to go through something like gastric bypass surgery, for example, they have to go through a psych eval. If there are certain surgeries that a person has to go through, if a woman wants to have an abortion, let's just say, she's asked to go through multiple steps to determine if her psyche is okay to handle something like this. So if a person has to go through psych evaluations to make decisions that just affect themselves, like, why are we not asking people to go through these types of evaluations for potentially harnessing weapons that could harm other people?
Right.
It just floors me when I think about comparing the hoops that a person has to jump through just to do things for themselves versus to do things to ensure that themselves and the greater public is protected if a gun is put in their hand.
Right. And you know what? Because, sorry, while you were saying this, a friend of mine, ex-cop, just commented on Facebook, and here it is. This is my friend Shane. He's an ex-cop. He said AR-15s is a small caliber rifle compared to hunting rifles. Handguns are used in mass shootings more than any other weapon. We need to focus on mentally ill. And I definitely see his point there. You see what I'm saying? And obviously, I'm not sitting here saying that I know everything about guns. You know what I'm saying? I like to shoot them. They're fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm a damn good shot. But that doesn't mean that I know everything about rifles and guns and heavy artillery. What is heavy artillery and what is not? But I know what is being used on a regular, that is being consistently heard in the news, in news articles and in news clips and in these stories that we keep breaking now on a hourly basis. But I do agree Like, and that's a good fact. But my boy Shane on Facebook said, thank you so much for the comment. And it's a good comment. And it most definitely is something that we need to focus on the mentally ill. But that's what I'm trying to say. If someone is going to go and just get a rifle or anything that is AR-15 rifle, anything that is in what I consider heavy artillery, you see what I'm saying? I feel like there should be some sort of evaluation, a much more deeper evaluation, like what you just said, Bryan, how you're going and getting a gastric bypass surgery. They make sure that you are mentally fit and, mentally sound to be able to do said thing. Same thing with somebody going and buying a gun. I mean, that's still something dangerous. You see what I'm saying? You're still putting yourself in harm's way, even though it's there to protect you. You can still hurt yourself. Owning said gun, rifle, whatever. So I feel like, yes, it most definitely is something that we need to focus on the mentally ill, but it's also the people that are selling the guns to the person who is mentally ill that's overlooking or glossing over the fact that that person is mentally ill. And maybe it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that as soon as somebody walks into a gun shop, you automatically go, oh, that guy's unhinged. No, not selling him a gun. No, not at all. But there's got to be certain things lined up, like a psych eval, that makes sense. So it goes with, okay, yes, he is mentally sound. He's mentally sound. Here he goes. Here's the gun. And if he goes and does something crazy or does something as heinous as we've seen so far, then you at least have that paperwork saying he went through all the red tape to obtain this gun. And he aced it with flying colors. But right now we don't really have that. We just talked about this yesterday morning or the morning before that about a family of 6, I think, if I'm correct, I don't remember how many people died, but it was 2 brothers that did like basically a suicide pact. They killed their entire family and then they killed themselves. And he left a manifesto basically saying, I went in, got the gun, went through, all they asked me is if I had any mental issues, and I said no. Ha ha ha. I got the gun. See how easy it was for me to get the gun? And if it's that easy, that makes me terrified. That should make everyone worried.
Oh, it's tricky. Every state does have different laws to obtain a gun. I mean, I know in my state it's probably like a 3-page form you fill out, and then with that, it's like an FBI background check, and you have to pretty much like not lie. You have to pretty much say all these things on this list are true or factual, and then once you check everything off and the licensed dealer puts it through the computer, it may take 15 minutes, sometimes an hour if it's one of those busy days to go through, and then once that's approved, you can just pretty much pay for it and go. Once in a while it's a wait and hold for a few days in my state, but typically it's fairly easy. It's pretty much a background check and an FBI check together, and it's assumed that you're telling the truth on that form. So if somebody was mentally ill, yeah, they could easily lie and have a gun. You're right. So the thing is, it's tick for tack. Somebody who's sound of mind may have a gun for 10, 20, 30 years, and then one day he just snaps or she snaps.
Dang.
So it's really hard to assess it in that manner. Adding additional, I guess you can say, ropes to jump through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably going to happen. Especially now. Is it needed? Yeah, it probably is. It's going to delay.
Yeah.
It's going to delay a lot of gun purchases, but at the same time, it's going to protect more people. So I think the profit shouldn't be that first on the agenda, but how things are in this market that we live in as far as capitalism and consumers, that selling things trumps everything else. But with the frequency of all of these attacks and mass shootings. We've seen today that Biden is trying to, have some laws change. So things will probably go into effect sometime soon. Hopefully, it does not disarm the law-abiding citizens. Hopefully, it's not too hard for those who are good people to obtain guns. But at the same time, there are people out here who are using guns the wrong way. And the same thing could be said for a lot of things, whether it's like dropping the car or whatever. People have to be held accountable for what they do. And I think Lady Justice made a good point about insurances, you being liable for those things. And I do know, like, once you do own a gun and you do have to fire a weapon, let's say in public, you're responsible for every round or every bullet that leaves that gun. So you can be sued civilly or held criminally regardless, but insurance for that would be probably a good idea as well.
Yeah, like I was saying, I just think that there should be more criteria. You know what I'm saying? There must be more red tape to get a gun. But I'll say this though too. Well, first I'll say this. I do believe in the Second Amendment. I do believe that we should have the right to own our own gun to protect ourselves, etc. I do believe in that. But I do believe it should be a little bit harder to get said gun. That's what I think. I most definitely think that. But I'll say this though too. There are plenty of guns out there that are sold illegally. So it doesn't even matter if somebody goes out and says, like I said, by any means necessary, if there's a will, there's a way. If somebody wants to go and do some bad, they can find a friend or a person that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to go and get that gun to be able to do whatever they need to do. Real talk. It's not that hard to just stumble upon a gun if you really want it. But when it comes to it being legally sold, I do think that there needs to be much more red tape, much more criteria behind it. Like I said, I believe in the Second Amendment and us being able to protect ourselves. Fact, even more now than ever before because of the craziness that we're seeing. Shoot, we just talked about one this morning, and now we're talking about another one. One dead. I think it's 5 others that are critically injured right now. 5. That's 6 people total. And the man or the person that did the shooting has been detained. No self-inflicted wound. He's not dead or anything. He is still on this planet. Or they. I keep on saying he. I always assume the shooters are men. But there it is. All we can do is wait. And hopefully they can figure some things out, find some way to make this work for the better. But I do want to pull this up real quick because this has to do with Biden speaking about, and this is a very, very short clip, and I'm sure it's taken, oh, wait, no, I got a much longer clip. Yay. So this is him talking about gun violence. He says gun violence in this country is an epidemic and it's an international embarrassment. This is the President Biden outlining a set of measures to tackle gun violence. So we got to check out this video for ourselves to see if he's saying anything brilliant. We will see. Let's check it out.
Nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about.
Phony arguments.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. We call it freedom of speech. From the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning the Second Amendment existed, certain people weren't allowed to have weapons. So the idea is just bizarre to suggest that some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let me say it again. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. You know, we saw it again last night as I was coming to the Oval Office, I got the word that in South Carolina, a physician with his wife, 2 grandchildren, and a person working at his house was gunned down, all 5. So many people, so many of the people sitting here today know that well, unfortunately. You know, they know what it's like when the seconds change your life forever. I've had the pleasure of getting to meet in awful circumstances many of you who've lost your children, your husbands, your wives. You know, they know what it's like to bury a piece of their soul deep in the earth. We understand that. Nothing.
Okay. So, as he's saying, he said what he said. I'm just gonna go there. Bryan, what are your thoughts on what he just said? Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? I accidentally hit the mute again.
We can hear you now, sweetheart.
So I think he's kind of stating the obvious. If you can tell by my eye roll, I'm not a Biden fan. But gun violence is an epidemic. And I think that it's an epidemic on 2 fronts, which is kind of a point I wanted to make just a little bit ago, is that, you know, on one hand, you have violence in the cities and urban areas or inner cities, which come oftentimes from stolen and black market guns, right? And then you have the other epidemic of mass shootings, which often happen with legally purchased guns. And so I think, once again, like I stated earlier with the issue, that this is a multifaceted issue, which is going to require a multifaceted solution. You know, that whether it is, you know, sweeps and raids or whatnot within areas where there are large amounts of black market guns to get them off the streets, that may have to take place. But once again, you know, we do need stronger gun reform around, once again, you know, mental health background checks, maybe add references, you know, to those checks. So I don't disagree that there's a problem. I think that most Americans and residents and other expats know that this is a problem. Like, that's the obvious thing. And I'm kind of tired of all the lip service around saying that it's a problem when we continue to do nothing but argue about it.
Right.
Like, that's all we're doing is argue about it. And I think I had said earlier in the show, like, sometimes like conversations can be just as volatile as taking action. But in this instance, like, we need more action, and we need, you know, a multi-layered solution to the issue, because, you know, gun violence isn't going to get better in the cities if we keep ignoring the problem of, you know, illegally obtained guns, black market guns, stolen guns, etc. But we're also not going to get any better if mass shootings also keep happening on a large scale by legally purchased weapons by people who have mental health issues, or, you know, people who are just bad apples that we saw were bad apples. So as Lady Doc says, we have to get to work. We have to start putting things into action. And I think that it's not going to start at a federal level. Nothing really ever happens at the federal level. Things happen at the state level. So we have to have our municipalities, we have to have our local county government or state governments willing to implement sweeping changes across the board so that it takes effect at a larger level. Things often change at the federal level when we can at least get more than 60 to 70% of the states to also change.
T, thoughts?
You're hard to follow.
No
great
shit.
Points, great points.
No shit.
But you're right. You know, it's a multifaceted issue, and I for one, I get tired of the same rhetoric every 4 years when it's time for someone to be elected. They go to all the churches and the neighborhoods and urban areas preaching, gun-free zones and gun control and gun buybacks. It's I don't like all that. I think it always comes back on a plate of, certain areas is the problem, and it's a much bigger issue than that. It really, really is. When major gun reform happens, it's always when there's a select group of people who are armed that they target as their initiative. And we've seen this when the Black Panthers were in Oakland on the Capitol with armed guns. We've seen it then. Reagan changed gun laws then. It's really, like you said, Lady Justice, federally, nothing's going to actually change right away. It does depend on the states and the cities, of course, to enact better laws. But they don't want to. Same thing with crime. I mean, same thing with drugs. I mean, it's when think about this. Who's profiting off of all of this? Someone's always profiting off of all this what's happening in the world. And the media just likes putting out their select emotional cuts of, see right here, this little pocket, this is a problem with America. And I'm just tired of seeing this over and over again. I mean, nothing's going to actually change, not from the top down at least. And those of us who are level-headed, we understand that it's going to really come down to hitting this issue in our schools with better education, hitting this issue with giving the people in the urban communities, better chances to do well with opportunities as far as employment. It's going to take so many different things to fill in all these gaps to make sure that the people are getting what they need. Because the only action that we see that's being talked about is when these mass shootings happen. But that's just a cover-up. That's just the way to put on the song and dance for the public to follow their agenda. But it's definitely other issues surrounding that.
Oh, yeah.
That, like you said, mental health. There are people who are not getting their needs met. And we're supposedly the best country in the whole world. People should have a resource to go to get what they need and not rely on doing something violently. So, again, we're not attacking the issue correctly as a system. This is going to keep happening. They're going to keep having, unfortunately, mass shootings. The Second Amendment is going to be put on display again, like it is every so often. Within the Second Amendment, and it's a part that the right definitely likes to argue. And, it's a good point. They say shall not be infringed upon.
Mm-hmm.
And they mean that. They mean like we can bear arms. And they really mean like any arms.
Right.
And that's the part where it's kind of gray, because any arms can mean like a revolver, semi-automatic pistol. It can mean a rifle, AR-15. It can be something that's even like automatic rifle. And those things are always being, tackled and debated about over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we have to just come down and compromise both sides and figure out what's the best for the American people. But it may be too late, because if you don't know already, there are more guns than citizens in America.
Facts.
Yeah.
That's the other part. That's the other part. That's what I was trying to say earlier. There are, that's a part I forgot to say, but I was trying to say. But yes, there are more guns than actual American citizens. And that's insane. That's insane. That's a lot. That's a lot.
And then,
that's a lot of
real
guns.
Real quick.
Damn.
Right now, there's an ammo shortage right now. For the past year, ammo has been really hard to obtain.
Yes, there has been. You're right.
I haven't bought ammo since probably in a year. I stocked up then. But supposedly right now, you can't find what you want to find. If you do find it, it's up at least double, if not more, than it was originally. So how are these mass shootings still happening if ammo is hard to find and it's so scarce? That's my question. Why right now in my city in Philadelphia that we're in an all-time high with gun homicides, and we were last year as well. So I'm trying to figure out who's giving these people who shouldn't have guns or bullets the right to have these things. Because I don't know if it's just that simple. There's something's happening where this is allowed to happen. So this is my theory on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, and what you're saying is very, very true. I mean, there's so many different things, like, you said earlier, basically follow the money. There's obviously a reason why there's been such a dragging of feet kind of approach towards this whole issue that we're having with gun control, period. We've been having issues with gun control forever, for as long as I have been born. Okay, we've been having this issue for a long, long time, and it's at some point somebody needs to either shit or get off the pot. Sorry for saying it like that, but we have to get to that point, and it's almost like we're getting to this place where they're going, oh, and I think that it's the same thing with Biden. I mean, because obviously Biden is connected to all this stuff too. He still has to, he's still connected. You know what I'm saying, with the higher ups, the powers that be that really do, kind of run this world. And he understands that, okay, he has to kind of drag his feet about this situation, because that could F up campaign funding for anything that he might be behind. But you also got to remember, it's like, what's crazy to me is this. We are having these mass shootings every single day now in America. And he comes on and he says this speech. Is it really going to do anything? Is it really, is that speech really going to change the world? Are all men and women going to gather together and lay down their guns and say, you know what? No, you're right. You're right. We need to figure this out in a better way. Here, take the guns. We're good. We're good for right now. Hell to the no. People are wanting to consume and buy guns even more than ever right now because of what happened in January and because of all the rioting that's been going on and so on and so forth. So people have been consuming and eating up all that. That's why there's a shortage of ammo. There was a shortage of ammo a few months into the pandemic. Why, you ask? Because there were people paranoid out of their minds thinking that this is going to be like the zombie apocalypse, that suddenly the world is going to be desolate. Jobs will be scarce, or there won't be any jobs. Everyone will be back to caveman days, the survival of the fittest. Straight up. That's why everybody started consuming guns and ammo. That's why there's a shortage because of this.
You know what? What else is a shortage? So here, after the uprising of 2020, it's hard to even get in the classes. You can't even get into classes for your carry permit. It's just super hard. Yeah. And a lot of individuals here now want to support a lot more BIPOC owned businesses. So there's a lot of, for example, African Americans that want to go to classes held by other Black individuals, and those classes are like full. You're waiting like months just to get into those courses. Crazy. So I mean, it's even hard to get to the point of even purchasing your permit so that you can even get the gun to begin with here.
Yeah. Crazy. But also what's really interesting nowadays is that there are certain laws that in certain states where you don't need a CCW. Like my state, my wonderful state of Missouri. God love my country. God love my state. But at the same time, you can literally conceal and carry without any papers, man. You can have a gun in your car owned by you. You don't have to show any proof of ownership. You don't have to show proof of permits or license or anything. I could literally own a gun, walk around, conceal and carry it, and that's my legal right here in this state. If I get pulled over by a cop, well, that's a whole other conversation. How about this? If I was, I hate to say it like that, but if I was white and I was in a car driving and I had it in my glove compartment, and I told him that I had a gun in the glove compartment, I'd probably just get a citation for whatever traffic violation I committed, and they would send me on my way. They wouldn't confiscate the gun or anything of that sort unless I was actually getting arrested. That's a whole other conversation. But other than that, drive down the street, gun sitting on your driver's side, chilling, exposed for all the world to see. It doesn't matter. You're not breaking any laws over here. That's insane. These are those kinds of laws that should be reapproached, circled back, looked at again. You know, I don't know what the laws are in Texas, but I can only imagine what they could be. You know, I understand it's, you know, you can have open, like conceal and carry, or you can open it. You can have open carry, like you're in the Wild Wild West, like a cowboy.
Yeah, Texas is pretty gun friendly, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to obtain a gun in Texas.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's something that, like I said, this is an ongoing conversation that is always going to be going on for as long as these mass shootings and all this stuff happens. This is a conversation that's going to continue that we are going to be continuing to talk about. You see what I'm saying? There needs to be a moment where they all get down and start talking about what needs to be done. This is not like, if this ends up being a thing where we can figure this out and everyone still can have their cake and eat it too, then great. I know it's not going to be I know it's easier said than done, but there are some new guidelines that have to be laid down. I'm sorry. It is getting too dangerous out here. Way too dangerous out here. You know, one moment it's a mass shooting, then the next thing it's a video I see on World Star of a shooting that just happens outside of a gas station. Next minute it's another mass shooting. Then a second one is on the Shade Room where a dude is just randomly having a fight with a dude that he had that he met up with just to fight with him because the dude was trolling him online. Like, these are real stories. Guys walking around, a woman in a really nice BMW SUV driving around, shooting in the air, telling people that she's going to shoot them because the cow jumped over the moon. I'm not kidding you. That is a real video. Screaming, the cow jumped over the moon, and she's pointing the gun at people and saying, I'm going to shoot you. Claiming that she's Dr. Dre. I'm not kidding. This is the real stuff that's going on. Imagine if that girl went into a heavily populated area and wasn't in her car. And I'm sure she's got the papers for the gun and all that stuff. But there's got to be new things, new criteria, so that this kind of violence can subside. I know it's not going to stop. It's not like it's just going to be squeezed off and suddenly it's going to be a drought. Wait, well, there's nobody's getting shot anymore. No, there still will be shootings, but we can at least slow it down. There's got to be a way that we can slow it down. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I have a question.
Okay.
Just thinking about that just now. Is all of this a result or aftermath of post-COVID? Well, I won't say post-COVID because it's still happening, but like, I guess like post-lockdown. You know, people are getting out more now, and I guess they were pent up for a year, and it's coming out with anger because you know, they lost their jobs, maybe lost their homes, they missed time in school, whatever it may be. You know, the stresses of life, lost people in their family,
yeah.
And now things are going back to normal, but they don't have what they had before. So maybe it's like a breakdown in their psyche where they're like, damn, I mean, unemployment money ran out, you know, all that, you know, COVID money ran out. Now I got to start from scratch. I'm just thinking like that right now. I don't know.
You know, I got many theories on this. Real talk, I got many theories on this. One of the theories was that there was just people who are getting locked up. They already have their rifles and their guns and whatever. They already have their weapons. But because of depression, because of being locked up, because of drugs, because of any of those things, and you're just sitting there for a year and it keeps building up. You already have all these stresses because you may have been laid off because of the pandemic, etc. People are dying that you may know that surround you that are dying from this terrible, terrible virus. So this adds up till it gets to a boiling point, and then next thing you know, boom, I've had enough. They go out and they do all this crazy stuff, right? There's that theory. Then I also had the other theory of, instead of it being like that, they're building up. Like, this is somebody who's already dealing with mental health issues, etc. It's building up to a certain extent. They go and buy a gun and some ammo just in case for maybe something else. Then it's like midway through this, and I know I'm just making up a storyline, but this is kind of what I've thought in my mind. Pandemic happens, and like a lot of people, they go and buy a gun because they're thinking that it's going to be so bad. People are going to be running into people's homes randomly. People, like, they watched Contagion. For example, I don't know about y'all, but as soon as the pandemic happened or they started talking about this pandemic, I watched Outbreak and I watched Contagion. I'm not kidding. Okay. So I watched Contagion and I was like, oh my God, because people were at one point, the streets are desolate. Trash is all over the place. People are breaking into people's homes. You know what I'm saying? Because they need to survive. So I feel like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, my golly, I need to go get a gun because I don't know if the Contagion is right. Damn that Steven Soderbergh, he had it on point, right? So next thing you know, they go and buy that gun. But it sits there. Bullets are there. Everything's fine, but it's just sitting there. But they're already a little like depressed, unhappy. They don't know what to do with themselves. They're all by themselves. Then people start to die. The money that they had off to the side just for a rainy day goes out. The stimulus checks come in when they do. But that money comes and goes like that. Then next thing you know, maybe that person is going, yes, vaccines, everything's going to be good. But then another problem happens. Or they still don't have their job. Or they still don't have the things that they need. Boom. They have a psychotic break. They take the gun and they do something crazy with it. That's the theory I've had. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that that is all the shootings that we've had. But I feel like there's a good portion of it. That's definitely a good portion of it. But I can't sit here and say that the Atlanta shooting was that. Hail to the no. That guy just had a psychotic break. I don't know. Maybe he got turned off from getting a rub and tug. I'm sorry for saying it like that, but it seems like that's what it was. He got angry. He went in there. And maybe because of the stress of the world and being locked up and just all that solitary confinement that we've all been dealing with, maybe it finally got to him and he just snapped. And his only way of release, his only moment of bliss, his own private blue heaven is literally getting a happy ending at these massage parlors. And I'm not saying that to be funny. That could very well be his thing. And then my theory is that he got cut off. Maybe he went in there too many times, a few too many. Now, the Boulder, Colorado guy, I can't even answer that one. That one is like a whole nother level of what the F. Real talk. But I do think that there is a part of it of we're all angry, right? We have to wear masks every single day. There are people who are literally losing their minds because they have to wear a mask. We've seen it countless times. You know how many videos we've done of anti-masking Karens and all that? All of them losing their damn minds. Being alone, always having to sanitize. You know what I'm saying? Maybe somebody maybe this guy literally just said, enough is enough. I can't do it anymore. You know, you never know how much stress is, how much of this new world that we're living in. We never know how much stress it is that it puts on somebody. You know what I'm saying? We never know how much this is. The new guidelines and all that stuff is stressing everybody out. Because one thing is for sure, we're all scared of getting sick because we don't know how our body's going to take it. So imagine that stress every single day. You're terrified to walk out the door and touch a doorknob because you might just get it from a doorknob and just do this. Done. It's stressful. So I do feel like a lot of this, I'm not, with some of them excluded, of course. I'm not saying all these mass shootings, but I feel like some of them are a result from just the world that we live in. So T, I do think that your theory is correct. Or it's a decent theory and could be correct. It's tough out here. And every day is a reminder. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Bryan.
One thing I think about is I think Lady Doc might have pointed it out earlier when she was talking about suicide rates had decreased. But one of the things that has increased over 2020 are death by despair, where people are drinking themselves to death, or they are overdosing on drugs, or they are committing suicide, or they're just essentially wasting away. And so part of me wonders, is there some type of violence by despair, meaning that some people will self-harm, because I think if you're doing things like drinking yourself, like numbing yourself, and not dealing with it, that's your way of trying to mitigate pain. So to me, that's maybe one way of self-harming. But maybe instead of self-harming, people are externalizing that pain, and then they're going out and harming others out of despair. So I've never heard a term for it, but I'm wondering, is despair, like you both are saying, also leading to really horrific choices that people are making because they feel like there's no other way? Like I think about the mentality that of some people that they're going to get even, or if they did this to me, I'm going to make sure more people hurt. So instead of taking out one, they take out multiple people, just out of hurt and anger. So I'm wondering if the violence that we're seeing is also a product of that despair, as I feel like you two are both alluding to, is also part of the problem.
Yes. I do think that, it all results, the root of it is mental health at the end of the day. It is most definitely all comes down to mental wellness. And we live in a time where mental wellness is very scarce, because it's right now, at least in America, it's really bleak. It's very bleak. The outcome, everybody. Yes, of course, we got hey, well, you got to understand, guys. And he's sitting there going, oh, we're going to put in, 2.9 million people are going to have the vaccine before May. And that's great. But that still doesn't change the fact that we've all been locked up. We've all been away from our family. A lot of us don't even remember what a hug feels like. I know that sounds really cheesy, but there's a lot of people, like real talk, there's a lot of people out here that have not had physical contact with any of their loved ones. And that's heavy. So more than ever right now, because I feel like this is now, everything's coming to a head now. So more than ever right now, we need to be focused on our mental wellness. We need to focus on our mental health, because now we're feeling the brunt of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. There was this ongoing joke that said, so it's easy for me to relate as an introvert when the world is more extroverted, and the stress that I feel as an introvert. But when I tell you I'm thriving in this quarantine,
right?
Like, I paid off tons of bills.
Word.
I've been socially engaged with people online.
Facts.
Like, I've done some more activism work. So, like, for me, I'm doing well. And so there was this ongoing joke at the beginning of the quarantine. It was like, introverts, check on your extroverted friends. Because I saw it on Facebook. A lot of my extroverted family members or friends were having a really, really, really hard time.
Facts.
And there was 1 month I went 2 weeks without any TV. Like, I just sat in silence and read books and was just enjoying myself.
That's dope.
So I can relate in that sense, but you know, I really do see how people are having a hard time.
You know, it's funny because you say something like that, and it's like, and this is real. I've said it a million times. If I didn't have this show and this platform right now, if I didn't have this to do, I would lose my freaking mind. I would lose it because I love talking to people. I'm one of those extroverted. I'm like an extroverted introvert, but I'm one of those extroverted people that likes to be talking to people. I like people. I love people, you know? So without having this, I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind. So, but at the same time, I was able to find this platform or build this platform. So it's been like a thing, like what you just said, you know, it's been dope. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been able to just chill, not turn on the TV. I'm not reading books while I'm on here, but you know, I'm getting to talk to you guys and talk about what's going on in the world and vent and rant and rave and laugh and cry and all that stuff right here. But I was lucky to find that. Not a lot of other people are able to go, you know, not a lot of us are going, well, maybe if I could just get a microphone and start a YouTube channel. Not really. Not a lot of us do that. You know what I mean? But yes, I know a lot of other introverts that were just in bliss during this time. They're like, oh, wow, I don't have to do nothing, like nothing, and I can still make my money. Oh, bruh, come on, man, let's do this. How long is this going to be lasting for? You see what I'm saying? And that's what it seems like a lot of times. But yes, there are a lot of people that are people like myself that are just having a really hard time now, more than ever, because they're just kind of like, they said this was going to be over 7 months ago. You see what I'm saying? And it's still going on. Now they're going, oh, because of, wait, you got to get this vaccine. And then once you get the vaccine, maybe you'll get a passport to show that you had the vaccine so you can finally go hug your mama, kind of stuff. It's trash. And that's frustrating for everybody. So it most definitely is, just going back to the conversation, we are more than ever needing to focus on mental health. And I think that needs to be a forever new trend where we talk about our feelings, where we talk about what's really going on, where we say that it's okay to say that you're having a bout of depression, that it's okay. It's not a sign of weakness to be honest and candid with your loved ones, speaking from the heart and speaking your feelings. I think that that's one of the things that most men are having an issue with. Notice that all the shooters so far have been men. Wouldn't it be nice to hear men actually be open and talk to their loved ones, saying what's really on their minds instead of going somewhere and shooting up the damn place? Wouldn't that be more beneficial? Just saying. We live in a world still to this day. We live in this world where it's like kid, father, son, outside, kid stubs his toe. He starts crying. Father turns around and goes, man up, son. Men don't cry. Not trying to sit here and tell you how you should raise your children. Or if you're somebody who does not cry, not sitting here saying, guys, fellas, go out there and just, give her your Bryan McKnight. You know what I mean? One last cry. No, I'm not trying to tell you to do that. Okay? But it should be okay for a man to express their feelings. To get a little choked up, get a little emotional. It's okay. But we live in a world where it's like, don't be, that's not mannish. That's not manly. Don't you cry. That's not manly. Don't tell us your feelings. You know what I'm saying? I got friends of mine that still say to this day that they've never heard their dad tell them that they love them. That's crazy. That's crazy. Bruh, that's crazy. And they live on the same roof and everything. Daddy and mommy still together and everything. Daddy can't even tell son, I love you, son. That's weird. That is the kind of stuff that I see and hear about a lot of men. Can't express their feelings. So next thing you know, they got all these emotions and mental whatever's going on in their heads, getting all bottled up, and like a freaking pot of hot boiling water that's just been sitting on that stove a little bit too long, lid blows off. Next thing you know, they start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Whatever it might be. Could be drug abuse, domestic violence, or now because it seems to be the trend, mass shootings. All because all they needed to say was what was on their mind. Express their feelings. We live in that world, y'all.
I think you just pretty much solved, the world's problems, Pascal. I mean, pretty much though. Like, it all comes down to, love. I mean, when people are not getting their needs met, and we all want authentic, real, long-lasting love. Everybody. And when we don't get that, like in our homes growing up, we seek other things to fill that need, to fill up that wound that's hurting us. And we all do different things that define so-called love, whether it's drugs, whether it's violence, whether it's changing your physical body through surgery, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. We all are trying to find real love, and that's the missing part. Because if you all had real love, nothing else would matter, will it? You wouldn't have to be an uber billionaire. You wouldn't have to go out and sleep with 25 women in 2 weeks. You wouldn't have to go out there and try to be somebody in a gang. You wouldn't seek things to fulfill you. You already have it at home. And I think that most people are missing that. And we're not teaching how to love properly. We're just doing stuff to get by and survive. Kind of like tread water. But you have to really spend that personal time, as a parent with your children. They need that affection. They need that love. When I first had my daughter, I remember in the hospital, the nurse was like, take off your shirt. She was like, lay your baby on your chest. Let her feel you. Heartbeat, your smell, skin to skin. And we bonded. And that's the start of it. You have to learn how to bond and connect and give those kids that time they need and attention. But we live in an era, too, where our cell phones are in our hands all day. So, we're not giving our kids the attention anymore. We're giving them, give me a minute. Come back later, And, you're on your cell phone, and they're like, Mommy, Daddy, let's play. And it's tough because, we're trying to, multitask being adults. We're trying to figure out how to keep food on the table, trying to provide, and everybody doesn't have that parenting skills of balancing things out. And it's really hard. I'm learning every day how to balance everything out. But we have to make time out of our day to give our kids what we need, because that kid is going to be the future of society. They're going to be what you made them to be, pretty much. Some kids are different, obviously. But for the most part, they're going to that foundation of love, that foundation of self-value, that foundation of, I have what I need, is what is going to help remedy all these issues going forward. We always talk about kids are the future, but for the most part, are we giving our kids a better future ourselves? And I don't mean material things. I mean the actual quality of life. So I think once that changes, the world will change. But until then, we're chasing dreams on social media. We're chasing clout. We're chasing anything outside of our own home just to feel self-validated. And it's eating ourselves alive. We're destroying our own future just by giving them the opposite of what they actually need.
It's very, very true. And what you said, thank you for telling your story, because that was a very beautiful thing. And it's something that I think we all forget, that thing of bonding, that tangible, natural thing, it's as simple as that, being ready, being present, because we do live in a world where we are always on our phones. And our kids are seeing that too. Just to answer, because I saw Princess Rose said this, the kids are also on their phones. But I'll say this, and she does have a very strong point there. But we also live in a world where we lead by example, right? And our kids follow our habits. So if our kids are always on their phones, what does that say about you? You see what I'm saying? What does that say about you as a parent? I'm not sitting here saying this straight to Princess Rose, but it's just an answer to everybody. You know, if they see that, oh, wait, remember that there's this thing called outdoors and you have a thing called a bike and I have a bike too. Why don't we go take a ride? Or you want to go do this thing, or, you know, that has nothing to do with the phones. I mean, there's ways to do it so that you can have those moments, but it is true, you know, being present. But that's the other thing I'm trying to say too. It's so important that we start listening to each other, period. We really don't. And I keep saying this over and over and over again, like a broken record. And I don't mean to be a broken record, but I feel like it's something that needs to be implemented in all of our brains. Is that little seed that hopefully grows into something really beautiful and powerful inside of every single person that's listening to this right now, all 73 of you right now. You know, I think it's important that we start listening to each other, because we don't listen. Then we have stories like this that we're talking about right now, you know, or we just got done talking about. You know, we need to start learning to see the red flags, hear the red flags, and do whatever we need to do to make sure that person's okay and that person's safe. I don't know how many people I've known over the past couple years that have either died of suicide or from overdose. I mean, I don't know anybody who's done anything like what we've talked about in the news recently. But every single time I keep going, well, what if only I was there, or if only I had known ahead of time, I would have done anything in my power to make sure that that person was safe, so that person could still be here with us. And I know we can't catch every single person, right? We can't save every person, but we do need to start looking towards listening. But like T just said a second ago, a lot of us are stuck on the phone, just looking down. We're all looking down instead of looking up and using our ears and seeing what's going on. You know, it reminds me of this thing, like just driving from my home every day, going to the supermarket. It's the same route I take to go to the supermarket. And because I'm so wrapped up in my own shit, okay, I don't really look around. Right? Look around in my surroundings, because it's the same surroundings you see every freaking day, right? But as I'm driving down this particular road, just one particular day, it's a bright, sunny, beautiful day, I finally look up. And I don't mean like looking up at the road because my eyes are on my phone. No, because I don't want to wrap myself around a tree, but I actually look up. And I notice that there's a building being built, like an apartment complex being built. And they've been building this for a while. And you know what came out of my mouth? I said, holy shit, they're building an apartment over here. That's literally what I said. I go, oh my God, there's an apartment building right here. Holy shit. I didn't even know. That's going to be really nice when it's done. Real talk. I didn't even know, man. I didn't even know. And it's the same route I take every single day. Why? Because I didn't look up. I didn't open my eyes. So it's the same thing that I say to what I'm trying to say here right now. It's like we are so used to just being on our phone and the world is just passing by us. Life is passing by us, but instead we should be looking up. We could stop some of these things from happening, these terrible things from happening. We could. We just have to be present. That's it. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Man, I love you guys. Okay, so there's a little bit of a left turn here, but we need to see this. It has to do with George Floyd, the Derek Chauvin trial, etc. This is something that I wanted you guys to see. Of course, we can't watch all of it because of copyright issues. But there is something that I want us to check out. Let's just say this. Steven Crowder recently did, yes, I know, Steven Crowder, I know. But Steven Crowder, as much as he is as much as I'm not the biggest fan of him, I'm literally trying to say this in the nicest way possible without actually like going in on him. I don't think he's a very good human being. That's just my personal opinion. Some people love him to death, but recently he did something on his show because he was actually banned for a week. He was in YouTube jail, YouTube prison for 7 days. He couldn't do a show because of the stuff that he's been putting out. He's been saying all kinds of racist stuff. He does all these racist jokes and all that. And somehow YouTube was able to find something on his ass. And they were able to ban him for 7 days. And here it is. I don't think he should be banned. I just think that he's trash and he shouldn't be seen for what it's worth. But hey, like I said, freedom of speech. If you want to listen to him, you can listen to him. If you don't, all you got to do is just not look him up, right? Well, he recently did. I'm not kidding you. He did a George Floyd challenge where he did the knee on the neck for 9 minutes and 27 seconds or something like that, just to prove that there's no way that George Floyd would have died from the knee on the neck. That it had to have been speedballs that George Floyd was on. So I wanted us to take a look at just a small clip of it. We're not watching the entire thing, okay? Because I do not like this man, but it's insane, and I think this is funny. To me, I feel like his theory that he's trying to test out backfires. It proves, to me, that what Derek Chauvin did most definitely had a huge factor in George Floyd's death. So, let's take a look at this so that we can see this with our two eyes, and then we're going to talk about it. Here it is. This guy. This guy.
The drugs, the agitation, the actively resisting arrest, the 3.5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl matters. I don't expect this to be pleasant, but I think that people need to see what it's like with the closest to controlled conditions that we can recreate as far as body mass, weight, situation, to see what it actually might be like if someone is not in an agitated, significantly overdosed state.
Now, I want you to know something, which is really funny. I'm about to show you guys something a little bit later, God willing, with the time. The toxicologist was on the stand today, testified today, proving whatever the BS that just came out of his mouth, out of Crowder's mouth, is not true. So as much as this guy, Crowder, and don't get me wrong, Crowder is just saying the stuff that he's been hearing, the rhetoric he's been hearing all the time over on the right. Sorry to say it like that, but let's be real. They're just sitting there going, oh, it's the speedballs that were in his stomach. He was ODing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Toxicology came back with those tests came back, and it proved that was a lie. Interesting.
That's the reason for this, and no camera tricks, no cuts. I believe you'll have me on the whole time.
Yeah, let's get over here to the point.
The earpiece to my other ear. Yeah. Well, the point is I can't have it on my stomach. So,
well, whatever you need to do, go ahead.
Okay, let's get over here.
Is this how he was cuffed? Then do we have?
I want to make it abundantly clear. A timer has gone off. He's already, on his neck, so to speak. Okay, on his neck, doing his thug thizzle. But I want you guys to look. They're trying to compare how he's like kneeling, etc. Now, this is interesting too. They have a bunch, like they have two dudes that have no law enforcement backgrounds at all. He just picked two random dudes to dress up looking like Freddie Mercury up in this piece to reenact in this thing, but they're not even doing the movement right. They're not even doing the hold right at all. You'll see it here in a second. As you can see right here, this is not even right. This is not even right.
Chauvin's was. I'm not sure if that's exactly where his knee was for Tokenawa. I'm not sure. Do we have a
There's new evidence coming in, so I don't really
of his
know.
low back? Well,
I can pull the photo back up.
Yeah, pull the photo if there are any changes. That
I don't want to cover up the
okay,
screen.
yeah. That's fine. Yeah, good idea. I was just seeing if somebody
Here,
could look
I can put it in the
offline.
lower third. Give me a second.
Not on the...
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Why am I doing this, George?
Now, by the way, they're going to be pulling up the photo here. I'm going to try to pull it up here. Bang. Okay. Does this look like they're doing this right? Don't worry, I'll answer it for you. Hell to the no. They're not doing this right at all. Look at how Derek Chauvin is kneeling. Look how this dude is kneeling. He ain't doing nothing. Where's his knee? Look at his knee. Look at Derek Chauvin's knee. Two completely different spots. Completely different spots. By the way, I mean, Crowder's not in a very comfortable position. This is not comfortable. Clearly, it's not supposed to be a comfortable experience. But his knee is on his freaking back. And the way he's sitting, he's putting obviously all of his the Freddie Mercury up here, right here. Clearly, he's leaning back on the balls of his feet. He's not putting any weight on his knees. If he's gonna put some damage on the dude, you put your freaking weight on your knees. This is exactly what Derek Chauvin is doing right here. Weight on knees. His whole body is up. He's not. His legs. The back of his legs are not meeting. They're not completely folded. He is up because he's putting all of his pressure on George Floyd's neck. Tell me if this is exactly what's going on here. Is that what's going on here? I repeat, hell to the no.
My point is your breathing does sound strained, which if somebody is on fentanyl, that could be deadly.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a submission. This is not a submission, but this is a
I guess,
submission of
Dave, I don't
restraint.
understand your point. Do you believe that if someone's on fentanyl, they shouldn't be restrained?
I guess my point is if you do think somebody's on a lethal narcotic and you know that this can affect their breathing,
They
it
didn't.
may not be the
They
best
didn't know
situation.
that. They knew he was
said
on.
he didn't take drugs, Dave.
Yeah, they knew
Well, of
he
course
had.
he said he didn't.
They knew that he
Dave,
had something in his system.
Dave, so what is your suggestion? That they should have known that he was on 4 times the dose of fentanyl?
Well, no.
And
By the way, this is not entirely true anymore.
this is unpleasant?
It
But
looks
that's it.
unpleasant.
But this is not on your damn neck and you're able to talk. The knee was on George Floyd's neck. He could barely talk. Do you understand that? See, I saw this in my, my YouTube feed, and I was like, I need to watch this because I want to see if he sits there and goes, whoa, or just to see if he goes, no, nothing happened. I'm totally fine. Look, loosey-goosey. I'm still alive to live to tell the tale. This dude is not doing nothing. And then he's got this other dude just sitting there like a wet, shaggy dog. What is this? Real talk, what is this? Whole thing has been wasted. So later on, he gets out and he talks his thing, going, "Oh yeah, I'm obviously in pain. I'm definitely hurt." But he's like, but it still proves the fact that I could have still talked. I could still do my thing. I'm going to move it up a little bit more. Here we go.
I do think that towards the end, all the weight was on the front of his knee. Yes, look at how he's leaned up. Look at how Tokenawa is.
What's the difference
This
between
is
what
so
Tokenawa is
stupid.
doing versus the picture?
The picture looks to be
He's very much
he's
higher.
higher.
The
See, that's two of
officer
us
is higher?
saying that. The officer is higher,
Okay,
absolutely.
so Tokenawa just make your body upright.
Yeah, push it
This
higher.
is
Higher.
so stupid.
Higher.
He's saying trying to keep your body straight
About
up.
there, right about there. Yeah,
This
yeah,
is-
yeah.
There you
That might be too high. A
This
little
is
back.
the worst, most watered down reenactment I have ever seen. This is the worst test I have ever seen. So, I think you guys have seen enough. You know exactly what I'm talking about and why this is trizash for Rizil. Okay? So, we got to get into what happened here during the test, the toxicologist, came up and talked about this. He testified. We're going to run this little clip for you guys so you guys can take a look for yourselves and hear it from the horse's mouth. 1 second, because you got to love these ads. What are your thoughts on this so far, guys? Real quick while this loads up.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting because if you listen to Dr. Martin Tobin, I believe it was, he talked about like the placement of the arm, the body against the tire, being pressed up against the vehicle, being constricted on both one side, having his arm turned up and then tilted to compress on his left side of his lung, that basically it would seem as if he had one side of his lung removed. I mean, like the way it was described in the testimony is not at all like Crowder displays. And thirdly, there were 3 officers on top of him. We had
3.
neck, thoracic, posterior, thighs, and legs and feet. 3 people were holding him down and also had him contorted in a way in which he was compressed. His diaphragm was compressed, and therefore he was restricted from being able to breathe from both opening up forward and opening up back, and then being turned the way he was. At least one side would have been constricted. Therefore, he would not have had the ability to take in oxygen. And I believe it was Dr. Martin Tobin who also said that even a healthy person would not have survived that.
Yep. And also, you got to remember, there's that new piece of evidence, that new piece of body cam footage that's showing them tugging on his, because his hands are behind his back, and they're literally tugging up. Chauvin was literally pulling his arms so that he can get more leverage with, using it with more leverage to get more pressure on the man's neck and pulling his arms backwards. Basically, you could tear somebody, you could break somebody's shoulder by doing that. He didn't give a damn. He just went in and just leaned in like this. So
and shifted his weight, and he was shifting his weight onto one leg and driving his knee in, and at one point he lifted his foot up off of the ground, which was that whole side of his body's weight was on his neck. So I mean, I don't know how Crowder could even think that that reenactment was close. That was disgusting.
Trash. It was trash. He even said it in the very beginning. He's like, I know most of you guys will find this to be distasteful. I know that you guys are going to find this distasteful, but we want to find out the truth. We want to know what's going on. We just want to know the truth. We just want to know the truth. And so he did that. Real talk. He did that trash. And it was trash. He didn't even do due diligence on that ish. He should have done the whole thing. He should have done it in an honorable way. He copped out. I'm telling you that right now. That was a full-on cop out. You know for a fact he knew what was wrong and what they were doing was wrong, and he just let it be. He just let it be what it is. It was trash. Absolute trash. Oh, that man makes my blood boil. Anyway, moving on. I want to show you guys this, okay? And thank you for that commentary, Bryan. Thank you so much, because it's facts. So we have this toxicologist that came in and talked about what was in George Floyd's body. The speedball that was in George Floyd's body. Was it past the lethal dose or no? Let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
What's shown here?
So this is switching gears. We're looking at the DUI, driving under the influence, fentanyl concentrations that we found in 2020. So these are blood samples that are sent to NMS labs for people that were suspected of driving under the influence of drugs or potential other reasons, way they were driving. And in this case, we tested, we had 2,345 cases. that were individuals that were alive that had fentanyl on board. Of course, other drugs may also be present, but this was specifically looking at fentanyl. And we had a mean concentration of 9.5 nanograms per milliliter, a median of 5.3, and then for norfentanyl, a mean of 5.42 and a median of 2.2.
And again, just to clarify, for these 2,345 cases, those individuals were alive, is that right?
Correct.
And you indicated the average fentanyl level, I believe, is 9.59 nanograms per milliliter, is that right?
Yes.
And the average norfentanyl level for those cases was 5.42 nanograms per milliliter, is that right? Next slide, please. And what's shown here?
So this is just a breakdown of the fentanyl concentrations we found in drivers that were alive. So almost the majority of them were under 5 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl. And then we had another 26.3% that were between 5.1 and 10 nanograms per milliliter. And then the next set of data was we had 216 cases which were between 11 and 15 nanograms per mil. So that would be in the same area of Mr. Floyd's level of 11 nanograms per milliliter. And then we had quite a few cases that were even greater than that. We had 109 that were between 16 and 20, 81 that were between 21 and 26, 133 between 26 and 50, and then we actually have 53 cases in living subjects where the fentanyl was greater than 50 nanograms per milliliter.
So comparing Mr. Floyd's level to the driving population, where individuals were alive, his level was within a quarter of the pie of the DUI cases that NMS Labs has received. Is that right?
Right. He would be right in there with about the 80th percentile.
And you indicated that those levels for drivers were found in 53 cases higher than 50 nanograms per milliliter. Is that right?
Correct.
So those individuals were alive and essentially driving at that time.
Yes, pretty amazing.
All right. Next slide, please.
I just want to point that out. Did you hear did you hear that? T, did you hear that?
This dispels all the disinformation that's been put out there.
Thank you.
For months.
Thank you.
You know, it seems like the racist trolls put out tons of their own made up facts just to prove that what the rest of the people think is wrong. And here are the facts that we all been waiting for, the last, I guess, 8 or 9 months or so. And there's no arguing it. It's right here on a nicely displayed pie graph and also a bar graph next.
Oh, yeah.
And you can definitely see, the numbers and where he was. He wasn't on the lowest percentage either. So he was definitely somewhere in the middle. But there are people worse than him who are actually driving the vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
So here we go.
He basically had less than what some people have had in their system when they've been pulled over. Less than the lethal dosage. Less than. Just want to make that abundantly clear.
What's crazy is that all I kept really reading was that he had enough fentanyl to kill a horse.
Exactly. And what's funny,
obviously he did not.
Yeah, he had within tolerable levels in his body. But people think that he took some some speedball that you know what I'm saying? That could, like you said, could kill a small horse. That's not the case here, y'all. Like I said, bombshell. Another one. Right here. Still, yes, he did have a decent amount of fentanyl in his system, but it wasn't a lethal dose.
When I was listening to a couple other toxicologists on that just have their own channels and listening to podcasts and reading the norfentanyl, the metabolite, they said in cases of overdoses, most people's bodies don't have the opportunity to metabolize the drugs in their system. So the fact that there were metabolites in his system demonstrated that Floyd's body had already been breaking down drugs that were in his system. And that was seen from the meth, the THC, and the fentanyl that was in his system. Now I'm not a scientist, but this is just what I had remembered hearing and reading. So I look at those numbers too, and I see the 5.6 that was up there on the screen of the norfentanyl, the metabolite, and I mean, it seems like that could be telling. I mean, at least it corroborates what other toxicologists had been saying.
All I'm saying is, I mean, and that's really great stuff to know, and that's good points right there too. The fact is that this is a toxicologist that's come in and has debunked all of this BS. What we've been fighting over, what all the political commentators, all the political pundits, Fox News, CNN, everything, mainstream media, all of it. This debunks all of this BS. All of it.
I have a question too. Anytime there's a killing and there's an officer or whoever's in charge, and this happened just unfortunately a couple years ago with the Amber Geiger situation, are they ever tested themselves, the cops, as far as for drugs and alcohol? Because you got to think, if you were involved in a homicide or either one of us were involved in a DUI or anything, even at work we get hurt, you got to go get your blood drawn right now.
Facts.
Because that's part of the policies and procedures. But with the cops, I don't ever hear that, ever.
Well,
Always hear, but the victim, the victim was high. He was on drugs. But test the cop as well.
Well, they're trying to protect their own, as always. You got to remember, you know what I mean? It's like they're like the mafia up in this piece, you know what I mean? They're just, it's organized crime. They're going to do everything they can to protect themselves and protect their own. So maybe they did do a toxicology report on him too, or like, did a blood test or something like that just to see what was in his system. But maybe that stuff got thrown away. Maybe that stuff maybe that shit disappeared. You never know. You know how many stories that have been out there where they've been trying to get body cam footage of said thing and they suddenly don't have the body cam footage? I mean, think about it. What were you going to say, Bryan?
So I was just thinking about a couple things, and it comes from a Facebook discussion I was having with an old high school classmate. But thinking about the series of things that led to this. So, they pointed out the pill that potentially was in his mouth or not. When they called in, they noted that they thought that he may be high. The police had asked him that when he was there, even though he declined. He lied about it. And he had already been saying that he couldn't breathe, but I think that was probably more of agitation and anxiety. And so they put him on the ground, and then Officer Lane stated something about excited delirium, and then other people have stated that they heard, was it Officer Tao stating, this is what happens when you do drugs, kids, or something to that effect.
He did.
So you have all of these things. So you're talking about supposedly he couldn't breathe beforehand. You have them identifying excited delirium, which typically happens when a person's on drugs. You had people reporting that he seemed that he was on drugs, and then you had Officer Tao acknowledging that this is what happens when you're on drugs. Not only that, a year and only a few months, they had, I think it was April 3rd or something like that of 2018, they all started carrying I can't think of the Narcan. They all started carrying Narcan. And so I'm saying you're seeing all these quote unquote signs that this person might be high and suffering from these particular things. Why didn't anyone think to potentially give him a dose of Narcan? I mean, there are 4 officers on site. Someone had to have been trained. I mean, you have 2 new officers. I can't imagine that they hadn't been trained on how to use this. They're supposed to be carrying it because opioid epidemic is bad across the U.S. So and it's bad in Minnesota and in the Twin Cities. So why wouldn't you think to do that? But yet in the trial, just a couple of days ago, you had someone talking. I think it was Eric Nelson, the defense attorney, was talking about did he wake up angry, and would he have waken up angry, and all those other things. And my old classmate, who is a nurse, pointed out that you really only wake up angry when you're given Narcan, because it blocks your receptors, and so you immediately come off the high, and you go into withdrawal. So oftentimes you come out angry. So if all of these things are a factor, like, I wish, and she said it too, wish the prosecution would drive those facts home even more, that even if you did think he was high and he was suffering, no one thought to give him Narcan, but yet you're trying to use overdose as a defense.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But that's funny how this is where we're at. This is what the trial is right now. Because he had fentanyl in his body, there's got to be reasonable doubt. And that's the only thing that they're holding on to. That's the only thing that they're holding dear to, which is so frustrating. But that's the only thing they got. That's the only thing they got. And that toxicologist just annihilated their whole
defense.
Their whole defense. We're going to say, T.
Besides fentanyl, he also had meth in the system as well. But I don't think it was at a level where it would cause any kind of overdose. Someone mentioned, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, that if you look at Floyd, his face is facing the exhaust pipe of the police vehicle. That the police cars are typically on. So I don't know if that aided to him suffocating or not. But that's just a theory as well. And as well as there's a full hour long video of this incident from all three body cams. Chauvin's fell off, so that one wasn't available. But it showed, of course, Floyd being prone and handcuffed. But people said Chauvin had his hands in his pockets, which was not actually true. Chauvin's gloves are black and his pants are black, so it's kind of hard to see. Chauvin had his left hand like on his leg, and Chauvin's right hand was actually like squeezing or pulling on George Floyd's hand, handcuffed.
Yeah.
So like it was like a hog tie kind of thing. He's pulling it. So I was like, so that was like, you can see his intent. Like he was digging his knee into his neck while pulling his arm. Mm-hmm. So like Lady Justice was talking about, like his lung on that side cannot even expand or inflate or anything. He suffocated pretty much. And today, the Dr. Martin Tobin did say that he died from a low level of oxygen. He was doing shallow breaths. He was trying to, any kind of way, suck in some breath, but he couldn't get it back out. And we try to, when we breathe in and out, we breathe out carbon, I think it's dioxide, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Carbon dioxide, yeah.
Yeah, so like he couldn't even properly inhale, exhale. So right there, I mean, the defense has nothing else to fall back on.
They got nothing.
The other thing they were saying was like, oh, the crowd was too noisy and the scene was unsafe for the cops to properly do their jobs, which is BS. I mean, yeah, they were being harassed in a way where it was verbal harassment. But, there was nothing that was... If the scene was that unsafe, why would 3 cops stay on George Floyd? Wouldn't 2 cops at least get up and help Tao? Mm-hmm. So that's not even feasible to me, but that's our other backup, is to say, hey, the cops were distracted. They could not keep the scene safe and all that blah, blah, blah rhetoric. But it is what it is. We all seen this last May, what happened on tape. And that's what it is. It's definitely at fault of Derek Chauvin.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, as the trial keeps going, more and more people are coming in, and at least the way I'm seeing it, it's coming at this in a way of, yo, Derek Chauvin did a very bad thing. That's the only way I've been seeing it. Every time that people come in and tell their story and do their testimony, it's still pointing towards guilty, in my personal opinion. Now, I know that there's other commentators out there that are saying otherwise, that are saying, oh, you know, the defense is kicking ass. I don't see it. I have yet to see that. Maybe they had one good person come in to testify. Maybe. To help their argument. But so far, every single person that I've seen so far has been pointing at Derek Chauvin and saying what he did was unjust and was wrong. Even his own, even the chief, even his own cops, like people like that are supposed to be on his side are still coming in and going, nah, bruh, he did wrong. Then they're coming in with the toxicology reports and saying, hey, he did not have a lethal dose in his body. There's much worse that he could have had in his body. He could have had a whole lot more. And he still could have survived. This is all the knee on neck situation. This is a full-on modern day lynching that we saw. Period. Sorry, I don't know. Doesn't matter how many times you put 2 and 2 together, it still equals 4. Sorry. That's just them are the breaks, baby. And hopefully we see this at the end and it leads towards justice. I really do hope. I'm praying for it. I'm really praying for it. But anyway, guys, that's the show today. I really appreciate all y'all for being on today. Bryan, thank you so much. T, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want to say anything, Bryan? You're not even going to say thank you? Bruh, damn.
No.
Wow, she already a diva, yo. She did one. She already did a show, bruh. She did 2 shows, bruh, in one day. She already saying where are my green M&Ms? Damn.
No. I was nodding and then I was also in thought, so I apologize. No, thanks. I appreciate being here. I think that this was a really good conversation. I really liked to see what was going on in the chat. I love the fam, and so yeah, thank you.
No problem, Bryan. You didn't have to say all that. That was a lot of talk. You could have just said thank you. You know what I'm saying?
You know I'm verbose. I'm longiloquent. It's going to happen.
You're what? What did you say? You're what?
I said I'm longiloquent. I'm verbose. It's going to happen.
Watch out now.
You're longiloquent? That's a new one for me. Damn, I need to use that in my vernacular. Thank you. I'm verbose.
It's time for a Friday spelling bee.
Right. Longiloquent. Longiloquent. Yo, that is an SAT word, y'all. Damn. That's not even an SAT word. That's something that you get.
LSAT word.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a law student, like law school test. You know, that's the bar exam. Bruh.
I can't spell restaurant. Come on, you're killing me.
Well, thank you guys. What are you going to say?
I said, spelling is harder for me, but definitions I can do I'm much easier with.
Blat Al. See that? She's not one to mess with. Longiloquent. That longiloquent, verbose having ass. You know what I'm saying? What?
Some new coat or something you bought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some new fashion you bought.
Bruh, I'm gonna write that down. That needs to be a T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Longiloquent. That's it. Kerfuffle and longiloquent. Seriously, kerfuffle.
That's gonna pop off.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be like, yo, long words are dope, man. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna make 3-syllable words dope again. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Longiloquent. Actually, that's 4 syllables. Damn, that's a long ass word. Damn. That word will like wrap around a whole shirt. You know what I'm saying? All the lettering in one. Man, I'm done. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being on here. Princess Rose, no, I did not see the video that you sent me via Instagram, but I'll take a look at it before I go night tonight. I'll take a look for sure. Thank you for the reminder. I'll check it out, okay? Fellas, ladies and gentlemen, lady and gentlemen. I can't even say fellas. That's weird. I can't say guys either. Y'all, thank you for being on today. I appreciate it. Anyway, Got to get going. I love all you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, I'm lonquiloquent and verbose as well up in this piece. You see what happens? You know what I'm saying? Achilles, last stand. I got to say thank you for the $2 super chat. That really, I really appreciate it. That really means a lot. Oh, also, if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button down below and most definitely hit that join button. Like I always say, $4.99 helps us fuel this show, keeps this motor running. Okay, so please hit that join button if you feel like spending a little bit of cash. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, guys. I love all you guys. Please share, spread the word about the show if you can. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. I'll see you guys soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.